pictures with the mouse pointing. This is her his wife. So they so he drew her when she's pregnant. So it's a very interesting painting. So so this is the poster that we create, but the first one in 2022. So he is actually the first one who gave all the necessary elements to to create this poster. So yeah, even though he's in March, but he's the first one we created. So please, later on, we need to give him a huge round of applause and then to welcome him. And now we are showing the editorial team for graphic design and yeah. So this is also painted by brother Guoxin Lin. So wow. So this is a really good tiger, and he. So this is very interesting painting that he did. The Bodhi leaf and the Buddha. Wow, this is amazing. And and a rabbit riding on the tiger. So this is something he drew. So so a lot of people made a New Year's Eve card for 自己方觉 to download, and then he kind of just made a lot of good pictures and uphill drawing them. So basically, he. So on the graphic it says like no illness can penetrate your body, and then you will always be in good health and good fortune. So he is a journalist, so he's really good with writing. So he is actually right now a producer in Daai TV stations for one of the editorial projects. So years ago, he wrote a response, and that was talking regarding to his relationship with his yeah. So he had a lot of chance to listen to Master Chen's teaching through work, and there's a lot of things that he learned. So this is a award. He has done a lot of projects to help the Daai TV station to write their editorial, not just for printed content, also for news report and everything. So in the video, he was talking about his work with the mainland China's team. So they were talking about the national garbage disposal site and all that other stuff. So all this video project was done by him. So through his work, that we learn what it means to report the truth and direct the public opinion toward the positive directions, and also help a lot of people to keep their mindset on the um, I guess right directions. So this is a project that he did, and then to talk about um, people's donation to nonprofit, and then list many disasters in Taiwan, and compared to the donation that people have to contribute. So Brother Lin made a new project. So interesting to learn is you want to know how to speak strawberry in Taiwanese is called qi po. So that's why he was teaching. So he is kind and is teaching a different kind of I'm not sure if it's about fruit, but if you want to know how what orange is called in Taiwanese, it's called ganma. So what's important is he interviewed a lot of people, and then he has a red bean crepe, and is very good desserts. Like a lot of people love. Oh my god, I want some. So talking about he was introducing the red beans in Pingdong, Taiwan. It's the biggest base to grow red beans. So now let's welcome Miss Brother Lin.
把你介绍的这个拿出来，而且呢，在这个当下里面，
greeting
我们
everyone.
呢
So
特
this
别
the
特别因为你的关系哦，把草莓
a
做
different
成
kind of
而且
oranges.
直接带回去给你们家孩子，还有你的丈母娘，好，真有口福，真的很好吃。那其他人，你不是林国信，
So they made the puff with
请到我们的乌
strawberry.
藏区，我们来响应宣布，我们是情缘乌克兰，也就是我们的导播团队秀春，真的做得非常好吃。这个
So they made a lot of
这边你去访问
strawberry
他，也
puff
就是我们影像画面上刚才看到的
fundraise for Ukraine.
对，本尊他说你要来，他好开
And
心，并且呢，
do
红
those
豆饼一定要到
brothers
所以他
sisters
今天迟到
who
还
are
赶到，
holding
为
the
什么？
plate
因
with the
为要把
product
红豆饼
are
送
all
来我们
the
主场这边，每个人会吃到
the
2个红豆饼，
people
给
he
我们的
interviewed
红豆是用掌声
interview
哦。
during his
提
show.
早走的就没有了哦，所以我
So
们
the
结束以后，
that
早
guy
点
that
就
guy
会
also
2个红豆
actually
饼哦，所以我们非常感恩哦。总之呢
made a lot of
我
like
们
red bean cake crepes,
现
and
在
then
在这
to
个地方我们非常感恩，就是国兴
is
他
going
今天
like
要
he's
跟我
going to
们
share
讲
with
到在
everyone
采
on
访
site.
现场这么多年来，然后跨越5大洲的一个慈善，他到过哪里
So
发生了些什么事？
due
但
to
是
this
为什么
sharing,
今夏今天没有来？
Brother
因为
Ling
有
is
政府
going
要
to
我
share
们
with us
但是为什么他一个人来？
his
因为他
experience
现在躲
in
在哪里？躲在他金霞的
in
妈妈家，
in
也
making
就
of
是他
making
娶
the
了
shows
我们
when
高
he
雄
interviewed
的
with
姑
everyone.
娘所以每次来这边顺便回娘家，所以姻缘就是这么好。我们热烈掌声欢迎国兴的好分享。
So he comes to Kaohsiung a lot because he's married to a Kaohsiung lady. So now he is about to share.
那么今天很荣幸第二度来到线上读书会跟大家
Dear Boisava,
今天的主
greeting.
题呢，真的就是透過我們
So this is my second time
去一趟環遊世
sharing
界的旅
at
行呢。因為疫情的
online
關係，
高雄
相信很多
online
人都很
book
久沒有
study.
坐飛機出國去了。那麼也因為我們在
So
大愛台的
today
關係
I
有
would
機會
like to
參與
take
我
you
們的
to
國際
travel
間
around the
的
world.
或者是一些
Since
國
COVID
際上
started,
的
a lot
分
of people
享
haven't
活
been
動
traveling
那麼
around.
踏遍了
So
很多的國家，所以
and
我們
in
跟
since we are in Daai TV stations, so we have still able to.
是跟别人完全不一样的。那么今天透过以下的简报，首先我们要带大家到哪里
We're
呢？
still able to
第一个国
travel
家就
around
是
the
离
world,
台
and then
湾
maybe we
飞行
have
时间大约是2个
create
小
more
时的菲律宾。
footprint
那么我记
around the
得
world.
当时踏上菲律
So
宾这个
the
原因，是因为我
first
在花莲中
country that I want to introduce
我们
is
的
Philippines,
慈
which
济
is
医
about
疗援助个案，
2
当时
hour
有一对
flight
来自
from
宿务
Taiwan.
的
So
年
this
轻
is
双胞胎
in
姐妹，她们
Cebu,
叫
Philippines.
姐妹，
Philippines.
屁股连在一起，
So
到我们的慈院进行
that
手
is
术。
a
在台湾
project
大
that we
约
have,
住
you
了
know,
半年的时间，后来
the
手术
two
之后
twins
要
when
回
they're
到
born
他们
are
的家
attached to each
乡
other.
宿
So
务。
they came to
那么这
Taiwan
趟旅
for
程很特
surgery
别，
to
他们先到马
to
尼拉，
detach from each
这马
other.
尼拉一去啊，哇，
They
真
were
的
in
是不
Taiwan
得
for
了，
about 6
我们的
months,
菲律
and
宾
then this
禁
was
四塔，
the
涌现
day
大量的
that
媒体，因
they
为这
returned
个
to
个案
Cebu.
呢轰动整个菲律宾，所以现场是满满的媒体，而
And
且还有之
so
前
when
面
they
对到花莲
traveled
成
back
功
to
分割的
Philippines,
双胞胎，
in
也
Manila,
来
the
到现场，
the
所以也是
Jingsi
接
Hall,
欢的部分。
they
那
were
么这一场旅
surprised
行
because
呢，
there were a
对
lot
我来讲印
of
象很深刻的
media
部分
came
就是他
along and
采访的
to
过程。
wanted to
这
just
个妈妈，
witness
菲律
the
宾这个苏务连婷的妈妈，她本身是一位中
the
学
miracle,
的
I
教
guess.
师。我们想
So
要说拍专题记录一下妈妈的工
he
作环
has
境如何。
he was
没有想到
walking
在一路
to
上除了车程颠簸之外，他们的路呢
to
跟台湾
her
完全不一样，没有
homeland,
柏油路，没有水泥路
and
面，
then
完
he
全都是
he knew
平
that
地的。
her
那
mom
么一
was
上
a
山会
middle
发
school
生什
teacher,
么情况？
so
大
he
家可能
wanted
会
them
知道， 一去
to
的时候
film
呢，
about
这个
her
本身泥巴路就有一点黏
life
黏
and
的，
her
不太
work
好
and
走，
everything.
所以必须要脱
But
鞋，
what
有
they
些
didn't
服装是
know,
完全都
they
脏掉
actually
的，
have to
还要
travel
过河，这个河
in
是完全没
so
有
many
桥的。去的时候水位很浅，只到
not
我的
so
脚踝。
I guess not so developed
没有想
places,
到采访
and
到
then
一半的
those
时候，
those
忽然下了一场雨，
slope
就是
are
可以
so
看到这
muddy,
张照
and
片。
those mud it
我
was
为什么
so
忧愁呢？
it's kind of
因为
soft,
发
so
生以
they
下的
had
事
to
情。
take off
我
their
们的采
shoes
访团
to
队
walk.
在采访结束之后过河，发现它溪水是暴涨的，
So
而且这个之前还冲了一头牛，这样从我面前划过去，非常的恐怖。
so he when you
完
read
全
last
很方便，裤
last
子脱
slide
掉
that
就
he
过河。
has a like
现
very
场的
sad
似乎
face,
像
and
是苏务的穷穷师姐，
it's
他们
it's
女生就
because
比较
that
不方便，因
the
此呢就穿着蓝天
the
白云
river
这
the
样走过
water
去，
went up
蓝
so
天白云马
much
上变
because
成
of
什
the
么？像
rain,
打雷闪电那个样
so
子，
they
大家可以
had
想象
to
那个画
take
面。
off their
那
pants to
前
walk.
面这一位是摄影，这个画面告诉我们记者出去采访
So
的时候
that,
不能穿
but for
花
the
衣裤。
sisters who went with
这
the
好糗，
group, they
那我
can
穿什么
only
呢？请看下一张，
wear
就是这样的情况。所以到现在呢，
can
记
only
忆
wear
犹新，10多年
their
来啊，这是
white pants to
采
walk
访
over.
史上最
So
丰盛的
he
一
learned
年之
that
一，
when
是
you
要。
wear
那现在那
city
位姐妹的情
uniform,
况，她们已
you
经17岁
cannot
了，真的
wear
是甜甜
very
蜜蜜，长得
colorful
非常的
underwears
漂亮。
because
如
that
果没
will
有这
show.
场国际援
And
助的话，他们现在会是如何呢？他们家或许可能还是愁云惨雾。
and
好，
now those two
第
girls
二个
has
国
grown
家
up,
一样
and
还
they
在菲
look
律宾
very
服务，这
beautiful.
是
And then if
海
we
边台东的时候，
we
2003
couldn't
是啊，被
help
4
them,
天4
like
夜50
they
路
might
线
be
史
still
上最强的
like
台
attached
风
to
跟
each other.
巨兽一样，
So
开
this
始
is
袭到了菲律
in
宾。我相信画面中这艘船，大
2013.
家一
You
直
remember
都非常
that
深刻，
Philippines
它
had
一直在深
experienced
海
the
被浪给打
the
到
strongest
哇，非
typhoon
常的抱歉，
Yolanda,
这
or
个
we
是
call
我想
Typhoon
把它
Haiyan.
记录下来。这
This
趟
is
采访呢，对我来说也是
true.
很辛苦的，因为
Yeah, that was
第一
there for
个
last time.
我们去的时候呢，它的机场是完全灰
It,
色
he
的，
said that this is like a
过海
very
关
difficult
是每次
experience
要从
for him
海让海关人员来检查，
to
过程当中海
to
关人
do
员
this
如果
filming, and then because
行李比
the
较不正的话，还会跟
the
你
local
要
airport
钱，
has
像
been
我
totally
这个
damaged,
要钱会
and
给我10块、40块到100块的美金不等。那还好
to
我是平安过关，只是这一路啊，
to
一
go
下飞机
through
你就是非
the
常的震撼。
custom,
什么叫做
it's very
这
difficult,
个
and then
被风灾过后，
um,
那明天过后的
some
景色，
people
到我
actually
现在
got
我都觉得印象深
blackmailed
刻，
from
就
the
是这样的
custom
一个样子。
officers.
那还有
So
呢，
it was
住的
very
地方，我
difficult.
们住在一所
Um,
宿务的医学院里面。
yeah, it's a
所
very
以说是
difficult
第一梯跟第二梯中间这个
process
长
to
廊
go
可以过
through.
去，但我们睡
And
的
then
地方是在教室，
he
玻璃
was
全部破掉，
staying
然后
in
睡的很
Cebu's
舒服的长室，
medical
坐在地
school.
上完全没有枕头。睡到一
He
半，而
remembered
且
all the glasses
又来一场大雨，
were
真的跟雨很有缘。
broken, and
这
then
个地方淹水了，起身先擦地板再睡觉。
is it
而且
like
有一天凌晨大概
so
4
you
点
have to sleep? They have to sleep on the floor, which is a
我
plastic
就觉
bags,
得我们很幸
and
福，
there's
是
no
当地的生活
pillows.
更辛苦，像是
But
维松师伯他们几乎都不
at 2 or 3 o'clock,
睡
like they have
他们
like
每天都
another
行程怎么样
pouring
如何
rain,
又
so
如何
it
我们都
was
看在眼里。那
very
对我来
difficult.
讲有一个挑战就是
And
我要
he
乘坐
noticed
小飞
that
机去
the
拍国内
volunteers
外
who
灾后的景象
went
如何，
there
还
to
有
help
实际当地
Philippines,
自己以工
that
代
those
金的情
volunteers
况
like
给出
almost
的
no sleep
金
every
源
day,
的
and then they
变
would
化
just every day we just talk about how they can do disaster relief and then how to help the people locally. He, when they have to got on another airplane to travel to another island, he stared at it and he feels like you have to have courage to actually board the plane, because not only is it small, it's just very different. This is a school that he visit is donated by local Chinese, overseas Chinese people, and since they out of electricity, so they have to get their own generator to power the school, and then by in few days into the trip, like a lot of volunteers start getting sick, so you can see that a lot of people are wearing masks, so because they're all showing flu symptoms. So this is he said that the mom, there's a lady sitting down there, I think it's in the green. He has very strong impression of this person. So all of a sudden, like remember, like at the time, all of a sudden the mom holding her kid. So she just barged in and started crying, and then he didn't know what happened because she couldn't communicate with her. And so the baby was showing a very severe symptom. So she was really scared. She was telling. So she was telling the doctor that she already lost her son during the storm, and so the doctor prescribed her medicines, and then realized that the kid was have severe symptoms, and then so when the volunteer went to her house for site visit, and then realized that the mom has become very stressful, and because she has lost her ability to actually comprehend a lot of things, so they at least took her to the free clinic site and back. So they have been driving her back and forward, and then I think later on they left the car and decided so the local can actually use that as a ambulance. So he was hoping there's a video that he wanted to share, but they probably couldn't find it. So this is day 23 during the Typhoon Haiyan disaster relief. So this is the mom. So these are the film footage of that little girl's house. This is how they live on Algeria.
抱着女儿玛丽珠的孩子需要人帮忙，大爱新闻团队恰巧在附近采访，采访车于是变成了救护车。翻译志工陈丽君与记者全程陪同，赶往慈济基金会最近的义诊地点求救。
Daai TV station team was on site when when they found that girl has a very severe symptoms, so they were using that car as a ambulance to transport her. She actually has 6 kids, and she already lost one. She's afraid to lose another one. At the time, the runners describing the mom is her hands and feet are all cold, and then kind of like colors turn dark. So she's very stressful. And then they went home to. So this is the little girl's grandma. They don't have any medicine for cold. They during the time after typhoon, they had severe shortage in medications. He still feels shaking when every time he going back to look at the pictures, the video. So they went back again to visit the family, and then they found out that girl is actually doing well. So.
当下回台湾第一件事情，我就觉得说，哎，应该去吃好一点点。我当天晚上去吃5味，就没想到半小时后就开始拉肚子。因为我们在那边其实吃的比较简单一点点，就是我们的香鸡饭啊，或者是泡面等等这样。
So he was in Philippines for a while, and then they had been eating jinsu rice and jinsu noodle, and then being very healthy and kind of like the little taste. So when he go back to Taiwan, I feel like okay, so you wanna get some food taste, and then as soon as he started eating like the normal food, and then you just feel like the stomach goes crazy because they were eating way too clean at the time. So when we looking at Philippines through journalist lens, we noticed that that island country has gone through a lot of natural disaster. So it's natural and easier for us to feel sad and for us to be touched by their situations. But with Filipinos, they are very simple and they're very I guess you can use the word innocent. So they always also like even when they go through disasters, they still donate, they still help other people, they still keep their passionate attitude in life. That was a picture that when he brought a drone to Philippines, and then the kids like didn't never saw a drone before, so they were like all like trying to see where is it, and now this is in Sichuan, China. So in the Luzhou, Sichuan, there was a big flood happened. So a lot of volunteers who went to Luzhou to support the disaster relief are the seeds that we planted in during the 2008 Wenchuan earthquake. So he has never experienced winter distribution before. So when he was on site, he noticed like a lot of like recipients are really happy, and you can tell that the Tzu Chi volunteer has prepared really well, and a lot of variety in the back. So the recipient is usually really happy. So the school that they went visit, it's just um, they the condition is harsh, and then you can tell they're really poor. They don't have a lot of um, resources, and then this goes to Wutai Mountain in Shanxi province. So he was actually doing a reporting on arts.
没有想到在仔细采访这几年，还有一些人生的经历，包括
He was
这些事件，让我觉得说，哎，我真的完全开了眼界，原来我的创作完全不一样。有机会再跟大家来分享。接下来这个国家就是尼泊尔。尼泊尔
he learned a lot about painting, and then like when you don't have a lot of experience, maybe you can paint the structure and paint the frame of a image, but through that experience, you can actually capture more of the essence and the spirit. So that's why he learned. He will share on the other day. So, and this one jumped to Nepal. Remember in 2015, there's a 7.8 magnitude earthquakes. So he had that commanding affinity to go into Nepal to see Buddha's birthplace.
我们基金会也蛮贴心帮我们安排到当地一间饭店。没有想到在饭店的时候，我们遇到第二次的余震。我们记者最发稿的时间，我还记得是下午的4点多，台湾时间。
So when they arrived,
晚上7点新闻回来的时候。
So when they arrived at the hotel in Nepal, they met the second aftershock. When they tried to send the picture and send the text back to Taiwan, they experience a lot of aftershock. And then whenever time there's aftershock, they will see the journalists trying to film whatever they could. But if you look at those camera crew, their hands has always been shaking, and they're scared. But there's a mission. They were there that they have to capture all these images, footages for people to see, so people can know. And then for the writers, he said that he has been struggling to pick the right words to type because he was so nervous, and then he also questioned, oh, well, how can I not type out the correct characters. So they were experience a lot of aftershock. So they were actually really nervous and then kind of like scared in a way because they don't know what's gonna happen. So they have to go through different tents one by one to visit the the victims, and then to see how they are, and then to document more story, and then see how more people need help. That you can see on the back of his neck, that's that's when this is like a Chinese way of magic like treatment. It's kind of like so yeah, so that's what happened after. Sorry. Okay, jump over to this is Haiti. They have traveling to Haiti is very difficult because the transfer takes hours and then I fly for a long time. And then Brother George, at the then CEO for New York, was helping him to adjust and transfer. He was on that trip. There was Brother James Chen from Los Angeles. He has been a very experienced volunteer to support Haiti. And so on their way from the airport to the site. The road is very very bumpy, and after few hours, it's just very tiring. And Brother James has told him that like in Haiti, do not like casually walk around aimlessly, and be very careful with where you're going, and be very careful with who you talk to, because there's a strong possibility you might get kidnapped if you talk to the wrong person. He said that in Haiti at the time, because it's very chaotic, and then you can the one in the pictures is actually a bodyguard. So it's kind of scary because he has like 7 guns like hiding in multiple body part of his. So they are in charge to protect him, and then there's a times that the bodyguard has to grab him and then just to shuffle him to their vehicle. So because there's a riot going on. So he said that because in Haiti sometimes when you want to take a picture of a person, they will ask, oh, can you give me $1? And then as soon as he handed $1 over, the other guy was saying, hey, why can't I get $1? And then all of a sudden there's a riot going on. So this time that he got pulled, like the person would just grab him and pull him over and then just open his bag and grab his stuff. So that was how chaotic Haiti was. So he said that they were residing in a 5-star hotel supposedly, but the condition is not very different. It's very different, and then the breakfast is always a loaf of toast, and then by the 3rd day he noticed some of the bread already molded, and then they just kind of trying to make do with it. The society of Haiti, their structure is very interesting because there's a lot of little tribes, and the chief of those tribes are basically just like a boss of a gangster, and for them to actually make anything happen, they have to deal with all these gang members. He said that when he was there, you don't even need to think about or contemplate that if there's a hell in the afterlife. Like what he have saw in Haiti, that is hell on earth. He said he works for his work. He has went through a lot of places. In the picture that he always looks happy, and he looks like he is. He's like he looks happy, but he sometimes feels very stressed because when they're doing those work and when they're on site, a lot of time they have to worry about the rating, they have to worry about the content, and then if you look at them to film all this great food, it looks great, but on site by the time they get to eat those food, like cold, they might turn soggy, and then it's just not always a happy experience.
哦，你带我今天去哪里砍木头，拢野木来行这个汤啊鸡、红啊鸡。你讲啊，我带你来现猎，放山鸡现猎。结果呢，我是不是造业了？后面我就不形容了，大家应该都知道。那另外我要介绍的就是，烤肉店、烧烤店。记者说，我们今天的鱼都是现捞的哦，而且是山泉水的鱼。你就要这样给大家看，我要捞鱼。
Oh God.
后来想一想，真的我造。
There's a time that sometimes when he filmed.
那至少我现在在慈济呢，都不用做这件事情。
And then, it was filming a barbecue shop. The shop owner was bribed about how fresh their fishes are, and how good those things are. So he just thought about so he has to film at the shop to capture those fish. So basically, what that meant is that he was like, if he kind of just created a lot of bad karma when he do his work and everything. So he wanted to promote that his shows on Saturday morning and hope people can join and to watch together.
你会不会讲太快？我现在变成我要戴口罩也来不及，我都不晓得怎么出去。你会可以先讲一些话，让我戴口罩。
OK 啊，好。
然后我就。
因为我想半小时应该过蛮快
的。
So he was a little bit short on time. So Sister Maying actually need time to put on the mask.
过去我在商业台如果要出国采访的话，会有2种情况，就是
he also had a chance that he went to Hong Kong for reporting.
厂商啊，或者是业者来跟电视台买广告，你才可以出去。那在商业台有时候就是这种后康
He says.
为什么呢？因为
sometimes if you are working for a commercial TV stations, to report some of the stories, you kind of have to deal with the brand, local brand management. So it's kind of like you have to implement some of the product into the reporting. So.
影响到我们的台式之类的状况啊，就没有机会去。那第二个状况，如果说你要在商业台出国采访，
so it's difficult for him sometimes to report some of the stories in Hong Kong because Tzu Chi is not a commercial TV station, and you can't really get accept donation or support or anything. So some of the story they might not be able to join to participate. But he's still very grateful for Daai TV stations to help to provide the opportunity for him to learn and to open his vision. He said that Master always taught us that when we see suffering, we should realize our blessings. For him, back then, that teaching basically means a very delicate and scary balance in life, because you kind of have to. It kind of scare you to cherish your blessing. But after he walked to so many places and see so many suffering and then to actually experience some of it himself, he feel that it's a very different feeling for him, and then he really appreciate life and then a lot of things that happens to him. So he is talking about remember the red bean crepe. So this volunteers also a 自己 volunteers.
对，因为他说啊，这个吃冰能对身体不好嘛，他就发了这个愿。 那还有大家我们在新闻里面看不到。
He used to grow not jujube, the betel nuts, and then
我这摆这无种槟榔这田，囥伫遐荒废，唔知要种啥。小林他讲，你家己讲好无？小林讲还讲，小林讲。
讲国语尽可能。
我那个槟榔是砍掉的时候，我都种那个毛豆、香蕉啊，以及各种那个杂粮啊。
So when he cut all his betel nut trees, he has to try different kind of plants. And all of a sudden, one day, Master Chen Yan was asking him, he's like, "Why don't you plant red beans?" He said that it's very interesting. He said like so normally in what even is a measurement of the normal most of farmer will get about 250 kilogram, but for him he actually was able to harvest about 500 kilograms, so it was double. And then a lot of time that he donate all his proceeds to charity and then to help others, because he always remembered that it is Master Chen Yan to tell him to grow, to plant those red beans, meaning that those money are not his, and he was just using that to help the community to fight poverty. His red bean has a very, very high quality and very easy to cook, and it has been very very well known around the region. He is a very religious Buddhist. He's very passionate and he's very nice. So he's so nice that he makes Brother Lin feel like they are like families, like literally families. He said that for the past life that we have created very strong and very affinity, so this life they can actually meet each other. So it was a very grateful experience. So this is like a connection through love. So he, a lot of like story that he had reported was based on the Kaohsiung study group. So the farmers story is interesting because I think his brother was one who also cut down their betel nut trees, but in turn they were growing bananas. So the family has become a very well-known Daai TV storyline. So there's a lot of stories sort of circle around the family and how they change and how to make their transformations.
于是乎呢，他跟我约9点，他说他9点多才会到，我说没关系。可是后来呢，一直迟到。但是呢，因为呢，就是在路途上，不是他的车，是别人有一点小车祸，所以他们被塞住了。但是迟到还赶到，是不是有心要到？所以今天在最后他会亲自来发送我们主场每个人有2颗的这个红豆饼。那之所以有这个原因，就是因为国兴哦。
He brought a lot of red bean crib. He was supposed to come here earlier, but they were what should I call it? They met a lot of traffic on the road, and so it took them a while to get there. But yeah, but it's very glad that they're here and then to share the story how love and compassion will connect people together.
国际爱人文心，慈济情，采访心路如人饮水，关关难过关关过，步步难行往前行。聆听今天的分享，如参与一场丰盛的心灵响应，无限的钦佩与赞叹。好，那我们的玉勇师姐说，人文心。
So this poem was actually wrote a viewer wrote to appreciate how Brother Guoxin and diligently to follow the path and then to bring us so many good stories. And then this response was talking about how that bodyguard in Haiti can actually hide 7 guns in multiple body parts, and then it just his life experience is so interesting and so different, and a lot of things that we can learn. And then there's a lot of stories that we don't get to see what they report in the news stories, but through sharing today that he has to share a lot of those like background stories. So we really appreciate his experience and how he shared his stories for us. So they also made us aware that we have to always cherish our blessing. Know our blessing, cherish our blessing, and claim our blessing. Thank you, Brother Guoxin, and for your sharing. Thank you.
看到慈师父忍不住泪流满面。
So, there are a lot of more response to our book studying for the Master's Diary, I guess. From Guizhou, there's a volunteer talking about how they were touched every time they see Master does his stories, and it also brought tears to her life, to her eyes. And she remembered when they were in a boat, how Master does care for them, and then always care for their visiting experience, and it was such a treat to able to have meet this elder. So there's a volunteer who was writing like how we just learn how to speak, how to say